We start with a bunch of highly skilled yet old as heck mercenaries infiltrating a freighter ship and telling a bunch of naughty Somali pirates to shut up and release their hostages already. But they flat out refuse despite having a fuck ton of laser sights pointed directly at them from high vantage points. So hot-headed Gunner Jensen innocently fires a warning shot at the lead pirate and totally separates his torso from his pelvis as a gentle warning. So naturally, a giant firefight ensues, and after the heroes take out the rest of the pirates, Gunner goes nuts and tries to hang an unconscious baddie. But these killer mercenaries who just killed a bunch of baddies themselves decide to cut him loose, cause killing unconscious baddies just ain't fucking on, son. So after Gunner gets smacked up by a small Asian called Yin Yang and also gets some sense knocked back into him, team leader Barney Ross flies them all home in a job well done. Once back in New Orleans, Lee Christmas goes to visit his floozy, who turns out to be none other than that Cordelia bird from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, what used to give me a right raging lob on back in the day. And still does now, to be fair. Wowzers! Anyway, said Christmas fella just can't believe his girlfriend went and got herself a new man, given she ain't heard from him in a month. So he just says he looks like a right wrong enough, and fucks off on a sweet-ass motorbike. Linking back up at their local tattoo parlour, their buddy called Tool arranges a new client for the Merry Mercs. So the next day, Barney and his old rival Trench Mauser meets up with some dodgy bloke called Mr. Church in an actual church to get the mission details. But said Mauser fella reckons this sounds like a bit of a suicide mission, having to go overthrow a Mexican dictator on a small island fortified with his own personal army. So he just says screw that and lets his old mate Barney do the utterly mental operation what will likely get his whole team killed. And after telling Gunner that he's off the team because he don't trust him no more, given he seems to be on drugs and keeps trying to hang unconscious pirates from the fucking rafters, Barney and Lee fly over to the island of Elena to do some reconnaissance, where they soon meet their top totty contact called Zandra, who totally wants her community to be free again after that naughty dictator fella recently overthrew the local government and oppressed all her people and shit. Elsewhere, it's soon revealed that ex-CIA agent named James Monroe is keeping said dictator fella called General Garza in power as a figurehead for his own profiteering operations, and neither can be taken out because they rely on each other's services for the drug smuggling and stuff. Anyway, Barney and Sandra are soon discovered by Garza's men, and in a shocking twist what no one could ever see coming, said Sandra lass is soon revealed to have been the General's daughter all along, and she's totally fighting against her naughty daddy what ruined their island community. But the baddies are totally going to kill them anyway. And it looks like it's curtains for the #1 ex-Rocky actor whose forehead never fucking moves. But luckily, they're saved in the nick of time by Lee Christmas and his trusty supply of knives, and thereby allowing them to get the heck out of Dodge already. But Sandra don't want to leave her people behind to keep being oppressed by her Latino daddy. So she tells Lee to sod off, son, because she ain't getting in his private jet and fucking off back to New Orleans to freedom and a nicer life, so shut up about it already. But because Barney Boy is running a little late, having stayed behind to create a diversion, Lee just shrugs and starts up the jet, and probably makes a 60-year-old pensioner run for a fucking plane, before doing a budget Mission Impossible stunt by hanging outside of a moving aircraft. And once inside, the pair soon end up flying back home, having achieved the square root of diddly and squat. Later, Monroe totally bollocks General Garza for letting two old mercs get through security and be given a private tour of their fortified island by his own friggin' traitor daughter. And so he says she's got to be dealt with, son, and pretty fatally at that. So naturally, Garza storms off in a rights drop, whilst that hot-headed giant nutcase Gunner Jensen totally betrays his ex-colleagues what cut him loose by giving up all sorts of secret info about him and shit. Meanwhile, Ross and the team soon regroup and discover that Mr. Church is really a CIA operative, and the real target of this contract is their ex-colleague Monroe, who has totally gone rogue and joined forces with that naughty general to keep the drug money that funds the CIA to himself. But said CIA fellas can't really afford to officially sanction a mission to kill one of their own guys directly, cause that would look pretty dodgy, bro, and people might start to think that the CIA is pretty corrupt or something. Anyway, after realising they're being used as some type of expendable suicide squad, they all agree to cuck out and abort, given they'd never lived to spend their fee getting caught in a war between a rogue army and the fucking CIA. A few days later, and Lee Christmas goes to hook back up with his floozy again, and he's friggin' furious after he learns that her new boyfriend has smacked up that Cordelia from Buffy bird. So naturally, he hands them their asses on a small basketball court, and tells them to never ever do any of them bad things ever again. Mainly because he fucking loved that Buffy show back in the day, and Cordelia was his favourite character and she. Elsewhere, Barney visits his local tattoo artist again, who waffles on about how he once let a woman jump off a bridge and kind of feels bad about it to this day.
Okay.
So this inspires said Barney fella to go back for Sandra alone. But Yin Yang says he totally wants to go save that rando what he's never met, given she's totally been waterboarded too. So they both head off to the rescue, before that crazy gunner bloke runs them off the road and soon gets into fisticuffs with fucking Jet Li, in a terribly edited fight sequence where no fucker can quite tell what's going on. And after Barney loses patience and just shoots his arch frenemy before the giant can do a hate crime and yeet a small Asian on a rusty pipe, he demands he do at least one good thing before he dies and tell him all about his boss's plans and where to find a girl and she. So the entire team soon regroup and fly off toward the island of Elena, whilst weapons specialist Hail Caesar is chatting to demolitions expert Toll Road and keenly showing him his shiny black shaft. Steady. And the two eager men both get super excited about finally getting to blow some shit up and potentially setting off a hot explosive climax. Steady. Anyway, once at the compound, the team totally split up to set the charges, and also rescue the top-totted Latina bird from getting molested in a small cellar. But she totally panics at hearing all the carnage, given she's currently blindfolded, so Barney soon removes it and says it's cool bro, because it's totally me. It's that 60-year-old pensioner bloke what used to play Rocky back in the day and what loves a bit of Botox and she. So they soon make a run for it, but unfortunately, the dopey pair get instantly captured by ex-wrestler Stone Cold Steve Austin. But luckily, Lee Christmas and his small Asian buddy totally jump down in the nick of time to save their other buddy, what looks like a straight-up waxwork of himself these days.
Bruh.
And after taking out most of the goons in hilarious and brutal ways, they're soon overrun and ganged up on by a wave of gun-toting Mexicans, until weapons specialist Hail Caesar cuts through them with his solid black shooter, and turns all the poor nameless extras into a pink mist, while Stone Cold cucked Austin promptly gets a heck out of dodge. Meanwhile, upstairs in the tower fortress, Sandra has been brought up to be used as leverage, but her dad has now had a change of heart and totally tries to stand up to his American boss, but immediately gets shot up as a giant firefight kicks off between the general's armies and the CIA goons. So naturally, the team promptly blow the compound to Kingdom Come, whilst Monroe tries to get to his chopper for extraction. But Yin Yang cuts them off with a well-placed grenade, and although that Stone Cold fella gets them across before getting himself warmed up and then burned to a crisp, Barney destroys the chopper before they can get to it and escape. So now out of options, Monroe totally threatens to kill Barney's Hispanic hoe, but she distracts him just long enough for him to get a few shots of, whilst Christmas also chucks in a giant fuck-off shank for good measure.
Nice.
A little later, and said Barney fella gives Sandra his share of the mission money so she can rebuild her island and restore Elena. And we end with the gang hanging out at Tool's tattoo parlour, and just casually lobbing knives around the gaff without any thought for health and safety.
Not a great plan.
As Yang Su makes up with a newly recovered gunner, who's somehow now back on the team despite betraying everyone because reasons. Whilst Lee makes up a cringy limerick and throws a knife directly at the poor cameraman, killing him instantly and thereby making the screen cut to black and she. And that's it. That's the movie. Though my favourite part was when Yin Yang kept saying that he needed money for his family throughout the entire film, but then admitted near the end that he actually had no family. Cause in another shocking twist, no one could ever possibly see coming, turns out he was just a greedy mercenary what simply loved money.
Yeah, I like money though.
But anyway, that's a plot and that's a lot, considering that bell thing, so you don't miss any future recaps. Tell me if you like this flick in the comments if you have time, and I'll see you in the next one.